Hi, Laura. Thanks for opting into the video critique. Um, I read over your paragraph and looked at your ad, um, and I think that you are not heading in an entirely wrong direction. I just realized you have some additional files uploaded down here. Okay, here we go. I think you're not heading in an entirely wrong direction. I think if anything, you might have too much going on here. Let's first of all just talk real quick about the minimum requirements before I forget to mention them. I'm assuming can't decide, let flavor guide your palate is your headline. Okay, then don't forget you still need to have 1 to 2 sentences of body copy where you would say Le Creuset pans are come in 27 colors to match every variety of the rainbow since 1977, blah, 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 whatever, 2 sentences, okay? Then a call to action, you'd say available at Sur La Table or something like that. You've got to have those two so you can hit all the minimum requirements. All right, so I wanted to mention that real quick before I forget. Um, I First of all, I would make your logo smaller. This is a pretty visually aggressive logo. I would also probably lean toward getting rid of your background. Okay, now if you get rid of your background, you're going to feel like you have a lot of white space, which is actually great because I think the strongest component of your ad you have going right now is how you've selected these various vegetables and you match them to the color of the casserole dishes. Okay, this is actually really cool. And you have the coolest part of your ad kind of fading into the background because instead I'm distracted by this awesome globe lamp and by that nice stove and by this kitchen. But this is actually meeting more the requirements for the assignment, which is a non-literal blending of images. Now, this is pretty straightforward. You have a vegetable in front of a casserole dish. However, I think your opportunity here lies in making these two images interact, right? Not having one in front of the other, but having them blend into one another. Now, you could do that in several ways. You could have all your vegetables down the left side of the page and the pots down the right side of the page, and somehow they're squished or stretched, and you have half broccoli on the left hand side and half green pan on the right hand side. Or they're just centered and they go down and it's half broccoli, half pan. That's one way you could do it. Another way you could do it is you could maybe have it split on the top, or you have the vegetable shape seeming to come out of the pot, excuse me, or you have something along those lines. Now, perhaps you found these images already and just selected around them. And if that's the case, it's going to be a little bit trickier because you're not going to be able to select them individually. Well, you still would be able to select them, but you'll have to kind of build the rest of the pan. So if that's the case, which I'm guessing it is because this looks really well done, the way they have the casserole dish shaped like the pepper and it matches exactly in color tone, I'm going to maybe assume that these images you just selected around the outside as opposed to found the dishes and the vegetable shape. Okay, so if that's the case, what you would then do is you would reselect these vegetables, pull them over to the side, make them bigger, and then you probably would have the vegetable on the right hand side and merge it together in some way. Now, as I was thinking about this a few minutes ago, I remembered one of my students' assignments from a few semesters ago where your last assignment for the semester is you're going to find an existing ad and then you're going to do a spin-off ad of it. So this was the existing ad that student did his spin-off ad of. Now see how you have colored pencil on the right and an eggplant on the left. And see how these two images are blended together in a way that is creative and interesting. That's kind of what I'm suggesting that you do for your pot and your pan. Some kind of visual blending that is surprising. I think this was the other. See, this is the same thing, the same type of ad. Pencil to banana. And then there was another funny one that was a dachshund. Here we go. So see how this is interesting and surprising? You have the opportunity to do something similar with your Le Creuset pans. Okay, so think about that a little bit. I will agree with you that I don't think your font selection is quite there yet. This font I'm actually fine with, but I want you to try to still follow the rule of contrast in typography, and maybe you look for another font that's somewhat similar to Le Creuset, but it could be not as bold perhaps, or it could still be bold. And maybe you use that for can't decide, let flavor guide your palette, and then this sans serif is what you have your 1 to 2 sentences of body copy in, and then your call to action. So Le Creuset, and then down here, super small, think like 7-point font available at Sur La Table. Okay, so something like that. Also, I'm never really a fan of centered text that's just been offset to the side of the page. I think this would usually look better if you can do some kind of right alignment with it instead. Especially if you have a lot of white space, it's going to look really good. You don't have to do all of these different pans. You could even pick a few. That would be interesting. Or even possibly you could get away with picking one if you do it really good and it looks like has this type of vibe. Okay. I would recommend probably getting rid of your drop shadow. You can do a drop shadow. The rule for drop shadow is keep it light, which it is light, and keep it tight. So your drop shadow needs to be real close to the actual letters. Yours is a little bit too much of a spread right now, which is making it feel a little bit dated. Usually I would recommend not using a drop shadow in almost all cases, especially if you get rid of this background. A nice blue type is going to be fine. I would probably still try to switch out this type for something different. Or maybe it just, maybe it'll be fine. It just doesn't look super exciting as it is right now. Okay, so picture you have like this type of font, Queen Time, and this says can't decide. And then you have a super simple, clean, classic sans serif underneath it that's right aligned. Can't decide is super big and interesting. Maybe it's up here, but it's still right aligned. And then down here underneath it, somewhere you could even put it at the bottom, let flavor guide your palette. Le Creuset pans are available, blah, blah, blah. And then your call to action and your body copy. Okay, so that's some way that you could format this. The rules of headlines still apply. You want your headline to be very large and in charge, or you want your visual to be very large and in charge and your headline to not be. Okay, so if you're doing like one really big image like this, it's okay to have your headline be a little bit more not as intense. Here's another one. This one's cool. All right, so hopefully those are some good ideas for you. I think that you have some of the components to do something really cool. You got to keep on working on having that white space on the page, having contrast within your typefaces. Don't be afraid to do something different that's going to kind of add an element of class to the design, since Le Creuset is high-end product. And then look around for something like this one might be good. It might kind of match the vibe of Le Creuset down here. Okay, so maybe do that, or go with a thinner sans serif and use it for your body copy. All right, so feel free to email me your second draft if you want to. Sorry, this was a pretty long video, but hopefully it will be helpful for you this week. All right, thanks, Laura.